Hi, welcome to the Creative Coffee Collective. My name is Jonah Ott. I am a former barista of 3 years, and I'm starting this channel right here to interview people who are passionate about coffee because I am passionate myself. So right here, I'm with Levi Knight, owner and manager of a recently opened coffee shop, Cream and Sugar, in Fairview, Texas. So Levi, tell me about, what's your story?
My story, well, I was born in Dallas, grew up in Richardson a little bit, and then moved into Lucas. Been living there since like 2000. Kind of just graduated high school, went to the workforce. I did an internship at a local church in Allen for like 2 years, or 2 to 3 years, and then after that, just kind of worked odd jobs, and fell in love with coffee and people. My passion is people, really, and like just coffee brings people from all walks, different lives, different religions, different stories, different pasts, and they come to enjoy a good cup of coffee or something like that. And it kind of fell in love with that attraction of that kind of, and just have an opportunity to just love on people and share the good news of the gospel, and not just serve them a cup of coffee, but have them walk in, and have them leave, not just purchase a good cup of coffee, but also experience a good experience, leave happy or full of joy or something like that. So
that's really cool. So how did your coffee journey start?
Well, I mean, I've been drinking coffee since I was like 3 years old. I mean,
That's healthy.
Yeah, I know, right? So I have a photo actually of like drinking coffee at 3. So I grew up drinking Folgers. Folgers coffee will always have a special place in my heart.
It's part of waking up.
Yeah, and so that, and then around like 2011, I guess, 2012, I found, kind of discovered Chemex, pour over method craft coffee, and started drinking that, fell in love with that, and then kind of just, I don't really know how, I've been thinking about it recently, how did I end up owning a coffee shop? It wasn't like a dream, out of high school, I want to open up a coffee shop. It just kind of developed. I had no idea 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was going to be in this place. About 2-3 years ago, I set a goal or a dream to open a coffee shop for the purpose of ministry and meeting people and getting to love on people. But that was just a dream. I didn't know when it was going to happen. I was just kind of pursuing that, So
that's really cool. So you started, your first barista job was at 1418 Coffee?
No, so I actually helped open up a coffee shop cafe in Rockwall called the Book Club Cafe. It was a family friend. They were opening it. At the time, I was working at a club in Dallas as a bartender / barback. And I mean, that's not really my scene or anything, just good money at the time. So I was doing that, and we met with them, and they were talking. They're like, "Hey, we'd love for you to come join us in this journey." And I was like, I don't have any better else to do. I didn't want to be a bartender. It just ended up in the good money for the time being. So I was like, heck yeah. So pretty cool journey in there. There, the second day they had keys to the building. We gutted it. So I literally was there demoing everything out, and then we built everything in there. So it was a really awesome learning experience for me. Learned how to do carpentry, electrical work, all these different traits, and learned really how to taste coffee, craft beer, and wine, and develop my palate there. And so did that. We opened and worked there, and I thought I was going to move out there to Rockwall and help manage that, because they kind of mentioned that they see me as a good fit there. So that was kind of my goal. I was like, I'm going to move to Rockwall and start my life. And so I was doing that, and then ended up meeting a couple at the register. They were, the husband was a personal trainer and director over these gyms, and that's one of my dreams, is always to be a personal trainer. And he ended up giving me his card. He was like, hey, we have an internship. Hey, I'd love for you to come check us out, So then I ended up doing the interview there and got the job. It was in Frisco, and didn't really want to work in Rockwall and Frisco, so then I left the Book Club Cafe, worked in Frisco, personal training, but it was in the evening, so I needed a day job to supplement more income. And I still was like, okay, well, if I need to work in the morning, what do I love doing? And I was like, I still love coffee, and so I was like, heck yeah, let's find a coffee shop. And I was like, okay, if I'm on break, I'm going to be drinking coffee, like get free coffee, you know. And I want to enjoy it. And I was like, the only place that serves good coffee at that time was 1418. So that's how I selected 1418. Went there, got the job in 1418, and then I worked there for 2.5 years as or not 2.5, like 2 years as a barista. So.
And then you started Cream and Sugar.
Yeah. So then I've had a lot of jobs throughout, even from like 1418 till now. I worked in construction, bartender / bar back again at the place called the Pharmacy. It's where the partners of this own it, so they helped me in the process of us getting meeting and stuff like that. They were like, hey, if you want to work here until we open, come work here. I was like, sure. So I did that construction. I did that. I worked at a exotic ranch goat farm in Lucas and Celeste, wrangling goats and white-tailed deer. So
that's very interesting.
Yeah, I've done a lot of things.
And I always find, and personally I had the same experience, that like once you start in coffee and you find your passion there, which, you know, so much passion is found in the coffee industry, it brings you back constantly, just pulls you back. So did you find that the same for you? Did you feel like it kept on just pulling you back to keep on calling to you, or is it even through all these odd jobs?
I mean, so like once I worked at so when I started the book club cafe, which was like 3 years ago, I helped open that and like worked there. And again, no, I didn't have any like position other than like a server and a barista. Like, you know, it wasn't like anything there except I got the opportunity to help and learn, grow, like open it. So that was cool, but I didn't have like any ownership or anything like that. In that process is where I really decided like I want to have my own coffee shop or at least help run it, or like be a branch off Book Club Cafe. Or when I worked at 1418, it was like be a branch off 1418. If we opened another location, like help manage that and run that. And so, yeah, I mean, for the past like 3 years, what I would say is like I watched this guy named Gary V on Facebook. Ran across him on I can't even pronounce it. It's Gary Vaynerchuk, I think is his full name, but on Facebook, and he just was like talking about life and like you need to find out what you're passionate about. Like you need to go after, you know, life is short. Like why do something you don't really love, you know? And so I narrowed it down to like 3 things that I really loved, and it was like my relationship with God and being healthy and loving myself. Second is ministry, and 2 is like helping people. And so those are like my 3 number 1 like drives in life, those 3 passions. And like people and ministry, you know, like passionate about people and loving people. So like, you know, like I said, those were like the 4 or 5 things that I was really passionate about. And like just out of things in life I've gone through, ended up being in coffee. I guess, yeah, I mean, coffee is just, like I said, I guess you're asking like, has it been a drive? I guess, yes, per se. Like for the past 3 years, I was like, I want to open up a coffee shop to be able to fulfill those passions, which is like loving people, ministry, catch 'em. You know, so like those things. So yeah, I guess unintentionally coffee has become a drive and like brought me back. But yeah.
Cool. So tell me more about your shop, Cream and Sugar.
Cream and Sugar, we opened August 10th, 2018. It's like a little over like 8 weeks ago, I think. So fairly new in the Fairview, Allen area of Texas. We have craft coffee made in Oak Cliff, Dallas, locally roasted beans. We use local milk that's from a company called Milking in Waco. It's like non-homogenized, low temp pasteurized, so it's like super raw and organic, super good. And then we also have a local honey from a farm called Bonton Farms in Dallas as well. Local honey, good for your allergies, tastes real good. I like honey in general, and so when I was opening this place, I have a drink I like to make. It's a honey cinnamon latte, or honey cinnamon cappuccino, and the latte can be iced or hot. But and so knowing that that's like a drink I like to make and sell and drink myself, I wanted to source a good honey that tastes really good, and I came across this honey, and I fell in love with it. And so that's like a staple of us, kind of a honeycomb is what we name it here. It's cool. And then we have locally hand-turned ice cream made in Richardson by a creamery called Sweet Firefly, and it's super good stuff. And from our aesthetics to our menu to our products, it's a super simple, super like not complicated at all. Like coffee in itself can be overwhelming as someone that's trying to like get into coffee or learn about coffee. You can come to the menu, see a drink called Cortado. What's that? You know, well, it's a 4-ounce drink, 2 ounces of espresso with 2 ounces of steamed milk, temped at a lower temp to allow more of the sweeter notes of the milk to be prevalent and more espresso flavor. But like from someone that's been in coffee, that's easy to know. But for someone that doesn't, it's like So it's like we wanted to make it simple. We do tax included, so it's all whole dollars. So it makes it that simple. We have minimal syrup options. We only have one size for the drinks, so minimum like that. Our ice cream have no toppings. We believe what Sweet Firefly does in handcrafting it, hand turning it. They don't need any. We don't need to cover it up with anything. They can stand on its own 2 legs. It's just we only do scoops and bowls. We don't do cones. So just like the single scoop, double scoop by itself, you know. So we just believe in the craft and the art and the passion that people do. Like you're saying, passion is very big in coffee. And what Oak Cliff does, we want to respect the roaster. We want to respect the farm, the people that pick the beans in these places. The ice cream, we want to respect the people that came up with the flavors and the mixtures and everything. You know, we don't want to cover it up. So we want to be transparent, you know, and just simple. Like this is what we are. You're getting a delicious cup of coffee, delicious scoop of ice cream. You know, our mission here is to have quality service with quality products. You know, with quality service, it covers like kind of a multitude of things with like cleanliness of the shop. When you come in here, is it clean? Knowledge of product and articulating the conversation and like educating and like teaching people how to order or what to get and what is what, you know, what we offer. You know, that's quality service, you know, and then with the product, making sure that we serve them everybody this good quality cup of coffee or scoop of ice cream or a latte steamed right, and like we knowing what we're doing to make you guys be satisfied in your purchase, you know, and wanting to come back or tell other people about the experience you had coming in here and leave change. You know, I kind of mentioned that earlier, how it's like I want people to leave change, and it's like with today's society and cell phones and stuff and social media, everybody's always on their phone, just like looking down and never taking a moment to like breathe or just like enjoy the moment or enjoy what they're doing. And like Starbucks, you know, going through a drive-through and just like you don't know what you're getting, and it's just, I mean, I don't want to bash Starbucks really, but I mean they don't care about the roast. They don't really care. They just push buttons. They're just there to provide a drink, you know, with somewhat of flavor and caffeine, you know.
As a Starbucks barista of 3 years, I can't argue with you much. That's the thing where this is why I like going to local coffee shops, because you find that at Starbucks a lot, it really depends on the barista.
Yeah.
And that is everywhere, but you either get a really great barista who cares about what you're getting in your cup, who wants you to have the best coffee and wants to educate you the best they can, or you get someone who just got out of high school literally like 2 hours before. So like they're still in high school, they don't really know what they're talking about, and they're just following the instructions that corporate gave them.
Yeah.
Now, I have a lot of love for Starbucks because I did work there for 3 years. I also have a lot of criticism of Starbucks because, you know, there are a lot of problems with it. And so you mentioned that you get all your things local. Obviously, Starbucks is local in Seattle, but you get all your stuff local. Why is that important?
I think when we are our local business, you know, I grew up in Allen Lucas area. It's just like, I think it's better for the economy and just like businesses in general to support local, you know, with big corporations coming in, and this is kind of, I guess, off topic, but of like corporations in food and coffee and anything that's a commodity that people can buy and stuff like that. It's just super manufactured, I think, and just super altered, and it's just wanting to get back to the roots, the simplicity of coffee, the simplicity of ice cream, and like customer service, you know, the simplicity of just having a conversation with someone and like talking to them and like getting to know them knowing their name, knowing their drink when they come in here, like the simplicity and like the beauty of that, you know, is like cute, you know. So that's kind of where I think is the heart and local sourcings, you know.
Yeah.
And not everything is local. And we have some stuff we get from Costco, I'm not gonna lie, but yeah. So, but most of the stuff we try to source local, roasted beans, local ice cream, stuff like that, and local milk. You know, it just makes it better. We love it. Yeah. So.
Welcome in, y'all. Don't
Yeah.
feel.
This is an open interview.
Yeah. So you mentioned that big corporations coming in. I immediately think of the Walmart effect. So it's a very known thing where Walmart goes into a small town and uproots the local grocers in that area and kind of changes the economy. Now, what I've noticed that, especially in more recent years, that, you know, Starbucks comes into a place, and what's interesting is the coffee industry somehow grows. Not around Starbucks, but around craft coffee shops. Like craft coffee shops more and more pop up. Starbucks has been putting more and more money into you know, trying to make it more craft. They've been opening these things called reserve bars, trying to make it seem more like a craft coffee shop, when really it's still Starbucks at heart. But you know, you just opened in August, and they opened theirs up like a year ago. So, and I can, you know, there's 3 other shops that have opened recently in this area, even though Starbucks has been putting more and more money into the Dallas area. They've opened 2 reserve bars. They've, you know, on Preston Road alone, there's like 20 of them. So why do you think that it's kind of, do you think there is a reason why there's almost an opposite effect, that they, even though they've been trying to almost squeeze out these smaller shops, there's still a large amount of craft coffee in this area? Is there a reason?
Sorry, can you answer that?
So why do you think, even though Starbucks, a big corporation like Starbucks, puts a lot of money in this area, craft coffee still can thrive?
Because it's better. No, because I think people appreciate the localness and the craft part of it. You know, people want to enjoy what they're purchasing, you know, more than just like Starbucks. It's super convenient. You know, you can go in there, it's real quick. You get like I said, it's, I don't want to bash it, but I mean, it provides a somewhat tasty, sugary, caffeinated drink.
Yeah.
And people don't know any better. But the people that are learning that coffee can taste good, or there's so much complexity to a cup of coffee, and it can be brewed different. The same bean can be brewed in 10 different methods, and you can taste different bodies and different flavor notes. Well, not different, but the flavor notes that are in that roast more prevalent, or more bright, or more vibrant, or more smooth, or more full body. So these are like, you know, and knowledge that we know as baristas, or coffee lovers, or people are passionate. But yeah, like, you know, so that's what I love about the beauty of craft coffee. You know, there is you can really take one roast with 3 different flavor notes. Say it's dark chocolate, apple, and graham cracker.
Yeah.
You know, and you do it on a Chemex, a Clito Wave, a V60, a French press, an espresso, a drip.
And you taste
You're
totally different things.
You're going to
every
taste
single
different
time.
body, the same roast, but you're going to have different complexities, different bodies, different smoothness. Flavor notes are going to be different, more vibrant, more bright, you know.
Yeah, and why do you think that education is important to educate a Starbucks saturated world, an oversaturated world?
So
Starbucks?
like, why educate?
Yeah, why educate?
Wait, what do you mean? Like, why do we want people to know that?
Yeah.
Oh, I think because some people think coffee can be bad or bitter, or like, and stuff like that, which it can. But if it's respected and brewed properly, I think you definitely can get an awesome, delicious cup of coffee that some people never experience. And I was thinking about that today as I was working. You know, some people come in here and they're like, oh, I don't really like coffee, and I suggest something, I get it, and they're like, wow, I didn't know coffee could taste like this. And I was like, wow, that's so cool that like these people have been drinking coffee forever, how long, you know, and they walk into this shop and they have a cup of coffee out of our gold cup, which is like a pour over method, which is one of my favorite ways to drink black coffee. And they're like, I've never had coffee like this.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like, I'm so used to it, so I forget the specialness of it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's so cool, you know? And they just experience something they've never experienced, the cup of coffee. And I think that's like freaking awesome and beautiful.
That was my favorite part of being a barista, when I could take someone who, like, you know, just puts, you know, they have some coffee with their cream and sugar, to I can give them a black cup of coffee, and not only can they drink it, but they love it and they want to change their perspective on coffee.
Yeah.
And that was by far the best thing about it. Like, I love just brewing for myself, but educating people on how much work really goes into one cup of coffee, and why, you know, you can get a can of Folgers for what, $10, or you can spend $15 for literally something exponentially better. My dad drank Folgers Black Silk for what, how old is he, 56, for his whole life. And sorry, Dad, for telling you his age, but for his whole life. And then 3 years ago, I literally, you know, just gave him Starbucks, which is, you know, still Arabica beans. I'll give him that. A Komodo Dragon Blend, which is still a darker roast, but it's already it's one step higher. And now he drinks that in a French press every single morning. He drinks one French press every single morning. And that has already increased, like, you know, it's changed his life, that he can just see coffee.
He enjoys his morning
differently.
It
changes things.
Fix, you know?
But so coffee is really important, especially to the shop. Now, some shops roast their own coffee that we were talking about, like Davis Street Espresso or Lima Coffee Roasters up in. Then now you chose Oak Cliff Coffee Roasters, which is local, based out of Dallas, which is Davis Street Espresso. Now, why did you choose Oak Cliff?
Well, real quick, with that lemon roast, right? It's called, what's the name?
Lima Coffee Roasters.
Lemon Coffee. We had them come and give us some samples, and it is so good.
Isn't it?
So good.
I plan on interviewing them too.
Yeah.
Lima, they have a truck, and it's
they just
so
did a truck,
cool. Now, I'm definitely gonna be talking to them soon, but they have great coffee. And obviously in this area, there's so many good coffee roasters. There's Island Coffee Roasters, there's Lima Coffee Roasters, obviously Oak Cliff. There's so many more, I'm blanking on them, but why out of all those did you choose Oak Cliff?
The reason we chose the Oak Cliff is for a couple reasons, because we knew the different ones are out there. I was familiar with them because we had them at 1418. Originally, I didn't necessarily want to actually have Oak Cliff, because it's kind of a saturated market in this area. There's a lot of shops that have Oak Cliff, which is fine. I love Oak Cliff. They have a fantastic roast. I think they have a bad rep sometimes because, and this is the reason, is because they're actually so good at what they do, because they have a wholesale component. They have, for all the equipment, they have, when you do the roast is great. They have low prices because they have been around for a while, so they can afford to have a lower costs on the roast. Then they offer a wholesale component, free maintenance for life on the equipment if you go through the wholesale, and they even help like design the bar and help like figure out the layout if need be.
Equipment.
What?
Get you equipment like the Bosco.
Exactly. And so they get wholesale component prices on a Bosco or anything that they have, and stuff like that. So with that being said, they're amazing. They're an amazing company. They covered a multitude of everything in coffee. They even started doing dark chocolate, when it's like, if you're a chocolate lover, it's the best chocolate. I think it's
so good.
Super good. They do it in-house as well. Yeah. And they actually just started doing pastries and bread, like bread making, which is cool.
Yeah.
But so with it being saturated, it's because the average Joe, it's like, hey, you want to open a coffee shop? Let's do it. We have no experience, but we have money, and we could rent a spot, get us stuff. We have no idea. Oak Cliff, they do all this. Let's do them. So then Oak Cliff comes in, and they do teaching too. So it's like they set up their equipment, they get their wholesale beans, they do the teaching, boom. But then us average Joes just like, we don't care what they say. We're just here to make money. And then they don't respect the bean, they don't respect the roast, they don't follow their recipes, and they just start making shit coffee, and with Oak Cliff. So then someone that's a coffee connoisseur will go into that shop, order a drink, a cortado, a cappuccino, or anything really, doesn't really matter, and then they get it, and it tastes like shit, and they're like, well, what do you roast? Oak Cliff. And then they're like, I wouldn't like Oak Cliff.
Yeah, that was my experience, and that's when I came in here and I saw Oak Cliff, I'm like, that's a red flag. Because I've been to so many shops that sell Oak Cliff coffee, and I've been let down almost every single time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not to say, and I think that put a negative spin. But once you explained that to me the first time, it opened my eyes because you gave me a Cortado, and it was one of the best Cortados I've ever had. It was fantastic. It may have been, the milk really helped too. I didn't even realize that it was that local, how it was more raw, and I think that's the milk is a big part of Cortado. But I think that's super fascinating. Yeah. That it proves that it's not just coffee; it's the barista. The barista is what makes it craft.
Oh yeah. I mean, we train here. We dial in every morning, and we dial in throughout the day the espresso by like 0.0 grams of the dry dose, which is like the espresso after grinding, and it's time of wet dose, everything like that. So, and so that's why I was hesitant of bringing Oak Cliff in, but because this was like my first time kind of doing this magnitude, I definitely wanted to, it definitely helped, and we're able to use it and make it really good. So we're satisfied with Oak Cliff. We love them. They're awesome people. The people that work there with Will and right now only Will's the name I can think of. The other guy I can't remember. Mark. Yeah, those two guys. Yeah, Mark and Will.
I've met a couple of the roasters there, and they were very nice people.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah. And how? Still on your shop, how did you choose the aesthetic of your shop? Because I've noticed things like you have a lot of cool plants, and you've even named the plants.
Yes. So the aesthetic, again, going back to the simplicity of it, we want it to be simple, clean,
minimalist.
Crisp, minimalist. Yes, tongue twister. All around, just wanted to make it simple, and it just kind of came together. That was pretty fun on how the process and going to the stores and picking out the facade and of the wall and like the tile and the countertop, and just picking out the stuff. And honestly, this wasn't exactly what me and my partner. There's a couple of us, but the four of us mainly. But my other partner didn't really have envision. But as the process developed, we just kind of, that's one thing I learned a lot. In opening a business, and it's helped a lot in life too. You just gotta roll with it. Yeah. Everything's gonna work out. If you think about it, like, you're at this point in your life. You got here, so it's like you're gonna continue. So in this process of like doing it, just kind of rolling with the this is what we want. It's like it's okay, and it's like it's gonna work out. But yeah, so we kind of fell together. We knew we wanted clean, bright, kind of things. That's how that kind of came together. With the plants, we wanted some. We love plants. Plants are cool. I plan on getting an olive tree eventually.
Olive tree.
Yeah,
that's cool.
But they're a little pricey, so I'm waiting to purchase one. But I would love to have an olive tree in here eventually.
Yeah, it kind of brings nature inside.
Yeah. So we do have 3 live plants on some shelves, one of the walls, and they are named because they weren't planned. It was just one day, just rolling with it. I love Jeffrey is a name that I like to name things, just random things like that's Jeffrey. Just to be funny. It's just playful, whatever. So we got 3 plants, and I was like, this one's Jeffrey, and then the one was named Squishy. Because Finding Nemo, where Dory's like, oh, you're my friend and your name is Squishy. Da, 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 da. I think that's funny. And it looks squishy, the plant, so I named it Squishy. And then there's one then I had a friend that was actually moving from here to California to Bethel School. And he was leaving, so I was like, you can name the last one. So he just named it Stefan. So yeah, so that's the 3rd plant. And then unfortunately, Squishy, R.I.P., last 2 days ago, but I bought another one.
Squishy died?
Yeah, Squishy died.
So now Squishy 2.
Squishy 2.0. Squishy. Yeah, Squishy 2.0 is dope, and he's on the shelf living strong.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm really excited for that one.
Now we could have a whole conversation on plant health and everything like that. But so the ice cream flavors, how often did you hand select those, or did you
Yeah, so we had a sheet. A sheet of different flavors you could choose from. From Sweet Firefly, they have like their staple ones and they have seasonal ones. So when we opened, they had some seasonal ones that we had that we have 16 flavors. 12 of them are like milk based, and then 4 of them, or 2 of them are sorbet, which is water-based, and 2 are vegan, which is coconut water-based. Out of those, we can rotate any of them, any options that they have. With the 12, we selected just 12 ones that we like. We're like, hey, we would want to eat this, and also had some suggestions that they recommended, like, hey, these are good sellers, you know, they sell a lot. You should have these in your shop. So we did that, and then we also just selected some. Out of those ones we selected, we had 3 summer flavors that are actually getting rotated out. So they're not going to be making those because they're seasonal, which I've rotated to like pumpkin cheesecake, ginger snap, and cookie dough. And the ones that we rotated out was lavender honey, lemon vanilla, and key lime pie. Which
sound all great.
those were all really good. Key lime was really good. Lavender honey was a really good one, but unfortunately they got to rotate them out. And then we had strawberry originally, but it just moved really slow, and so we just made the decision to replace it with a different one and replace that with cinnamon. So that's what we have right now. But
cinnamon espresso sound great.
Yeah, we do avocado, which is an Italian dessert. You know, with having those 2 combos of local ice cream and local espresso and all that stuff. And coffee shop, we do sell a lot of avocados, and which is 1 scoop of ice cream with 2 shots of espresso on top with your choice of ice cream, and you can choose any of those. So they're really, you can make really crazy unique one with like birthday cake and espresso, which I don't think would be very good, but hey, you could do it.
Yeah.
Or you can do coffee one or bourbon vanilla.
I did bourbon vanilla my first time. It was amazing.
Yep.
Now, I've talked to one of my most regular coffee shops that I visit is called The Nest, and that's in Frisco.
Okay.
And the manager, the owner there, Andrew, he's talked to me saying that when you open a coffee shop, and he doesn't really understand the people who do it just coffee, but you always pick coffee and something else, because his is coffee and food. He does toasts and things like that, and he said 60% is food, 40% is coffee. Now, how does that relate to ice cream, and why did you choose ice cream when you selected something to match it with?
Yeah, so ice cream, the ice cream part of it was my partners. They just kind of chose that. They outreached out to my buddy that I worked with at 1418. So I met my buddy, my partner. How this all came about was my buddy. His name's Alex, or AB. That's his nickname. We call him. Worked at a barbershop in Deep Ellum called High and Tight. So he did that. He's been a barber for like 7 years, 8 years. So he did that. Left cutting hair at High and Tight to go work in coffee because he just wanted to learn. He never worked under management, and he never worked with a team. Because he's a barber, you're just your own boss. You know, you do your own thing. So he quit cutting hair to work at, and he got a job at 1418. It's kind of a long story, but High and Tight is located next to Rocket Fizz candy store in Deep Ellum. Rocket Fizz candy store, the owners knew AB because they worked next door to each other, you know, because they kind of talked. So they met, they kind of like just in the neighborhood, you know, they knew each other. When he left, you know, and when he came back, because he worked in 1418 for a little bit and then went back to haircut. When he went back to haircut, they kind of reconnected. And when they reconnected, they were like, oh, how was working in coffee, da-da-da-da-da. And he was just talking about that. And Jacob and Danny, the owners of Rocket Fizz and other things in Deep Ellum called Select Start and other things across the United States, they own some different things. Rocket Fizz, like in New Mexico and some other things. They always want to do a coffee concept, but have no experience in coffee and like that. So, but since they knew AB, they pitched to him and it was like, hey, well, what would you think about opening a coffee shop with us? And they have past experience in ice cream, so they kind of brought the ice cream to answer that question. They already were familiar with ice cream, so they just kind of brought that in with coffee and ice cream. They just thought it would be good. They had they didn't have like any, I guess, research or anything. They just knew both are really good products, you know. So, and so he asked AB, and he was like, heck yeah, I'd love to. That sounds crazy. I was like, cool. And then he's like, if I do it, I only want to do it if my buddy Levi does it. So he just kind of threw me in the mix because we just became buddies working at 1418. He knew my heart, knew my character, my work ethic. And so then he approached me, and I was like, yeah, heck, dude, this would be awesome. Like, you're telling me I'm about to open up my own coffee shop and manager and like all this stuff. And it's like, and this would be a dream, you know? And so it almost sounded like too good to be true. So I was a little hesitant. I was like super stoked, excited, but I wasn't like, I don't want my hopes too high because I felt like, you know, could be let down. But then like a week later, ended up meeting one of my partners currently, Jacob, and at the spot here. Before it was something else. It was American Cookie before. And so we met, just kind of looked through the windows, kind of had lunch and talked, met the guy, and it's like, these guys are legit. This isn't like just some fairy dust thing. Like, let's see if this can work. Like, these guys are wise businessmen that have good businesses that are flourishing other places, and that this is actually going to happen. So then that started the process, which was about 11 months ago, I guess, from now, is the time that the whole process of meeting, AB telling me to now is about almost a year to 11 months since that'll happen. And
Pretty
so,
fast.
Yeah.
How it happened.
So yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Just two more questions. One, you mentioned, and I can tell just from talking to you these past few times I've met you, is that you are a great storyteller. You're great with people. Your passion is people, and also God.
Yeah.
Now, I have a list of people I've talked to recently, and The Nest, Coffee Del Rey, Hive Coffee Company, and others, they all seem to have a basis in, we'll just say Christianity, but you know, their coffee has traveled with religion since its origin. You know,
which is crazy.
It traveled with the spread of Islam, and it's been around the whole world thanks to the spread of religions. Now, why do you think that coffee and religion, coffee and Christianity, have such a close-knit history?
Yeah, so I think with coffee and even hot tea or even alcohol, you know, people want community. People want to hang out and talk and fellowship, you know, or just like a relationship, like have dialogue, you know. So even with the bar, with alcohol, you know, you go to a bar to drink and hang out, which is, you know, we actually plan on having some craft beers in here eventually. I'd love that. I love craft beer. I love wine, you know, with flavor notes of coffee. It's the same thing as craft beer and wine. And it's crazy, you know, like wine sommeliers or whatever you call them. They're like crazy developed palates can like taste the wine and like tell you what
region of Italy,
what grape, what vineyard, all these things, you know. And coffee is actually more complex
There's
than
like
a wine.
10 times more tasty notes in coffee than there are in wine.
Yeah.
And that's what's super fascinating is that, you know, sommelier is a career.
Yeah.
And I feel like
highly sought
coffee,
after,
and I feel like coffee is coming up there. It's going to be to that point where, you know, craft wine and craft coffee are going to be considered the same, because there is so much that is so similar, whether where you grow it, the mineral count, everything goes into it, and it's so weird how similar they are. And you mentioned you might be getting wine and beer here. That's really, you know, that's a very, Starbucks has tried that.
Yeah.
And they failed in Texas, which I think is very interesting, where they try to bring in wine and they failed. Now,
I don't want to bring in wine. I love
want to
wine,
bring in just craft beer,
but I don't want to bring wine which we might, but I love wine, but I'm more craft beer and ciders and bottles. And our space is kind of small. Yeah. We only work with the guy, so have like 5 or 6 bottled or canned craft beers, local, whatever, with some local ciders, bottled or canned, simple. You know, when you get into wine, you got to think about wine glasses. Yeah. And where you're gonna store those, break easily, glassware. You don't have to serve them.
That's probably
in
why
glass.
Starbucks failed.
Yeah. And so, but that was just sorry.
Yeah. No, that's a fair point. Now, last and final question. Sorry, this went longer than 20 minutes.
You're good. Enjoyed it.
This is very interesting. So why is coffee important to both you and society? Because coffee, people may not know, is the second largest traded commodity in all the world, behind crude oil. Yeah. Which is, you know, is what makes the world run. America doesn't run on Dunkin'. America runs on oil, but then also coffee in general. Yeah. Why do you think it's so important? And you know, you mentioned fellowship, but aside from that too, why?
So kind of about what I said earlier about like why relate Christianity or like whatever people and coffee, and it's because that fellowship and hanging out, getting to know people, and stuff like that. Why it's sought after? It's actually the number one drug Because caffeine is a drug.
Caffeine, yeah, it's the
It's a
most
drug.
legal drug you can get.
Yeah, so it's the number one drug used in the world, but which is crazy. So people love it's habitual, you know. People love back again, like why it's so. People love coming in, knowing their drink. They get their drink the same way, you know. They sit in their same spot, or before they start their day, you know. So it's just that becomes the, you know, you wake up, you do your thing, you get a cup of coffee, you go on your day. You know, you have another cup of coffee, so it just comes part of the person, you know. And I think caffeine, I mean, some days I don't drink coffee. And isn't that crazy as it might seem as working here? Like, some days I don't drink coffee, but that's just because I like tea.
Yeah.
Honey and tea.
That's the thing. Some people assume baristas is just like, oh, you can only drink coffee, you can only drink it black. You know, if I drink a latte, like a full milk latte, I prefer a lot of vanilla in there just because I'm lactose intolerant. I might as well really enjoy that sugary drink. But if I drink coffee, I drink it black. But it's all insane, and I think people are super habitual. I worked. I started my day usually when I was a barista at 4:30 a.m. I was in the coffee shop, and then 5 a.m. when we opened, and the same people came in
every day
at the same time, getting the same drink. And it's been a month since I left that job, and if I see them on the street, I could tell you exactly what their drink order is, and their name, and their life story. And I think that's really important. The fellowship and the cafe culture that we all experience is why coffee is so important in our society, and why it will continue to be important.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to continue to, as people find out about us as Cream and Sugar or craft coffee, and learn that you can have a good cup of black coffee that's smooth and vibrant and tastes delicious, have very prevalent flavor notes. People are going to enjoy it and try it different. It's not for everybody. Some people don't like coffee, and that's fine.
Taste is subjective.
Yeah, so it's great. I mean, just like people love coffee, man. It's not going anywhere.
It's not.
So
I want to thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I like how our conversation started out talking about Colts, and we got to where we are now. But everyone, please come and visit my friend Levi here at Cream and Sugar in Fairview, Texas. He makes a really good cup of coffee. I love it here. And I guess since this is going to be on YouTube, like and subscribe, follow me, post your favorite kind of coffee in the comments, and hear back from us soon. Yeah.
Coffee.
Thank you.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right. That's a wrap, y'all. What do you think, Sam? What do you think? It's gonna be great. That was, honestly, it was 40 minutes long. That conversation was better than I could have ever asked for.
It's good. I appreciate it.
Super fascinating, and this is why I think people are gonna watch it, because I don't know, my mind was buzzing the whole time. I'm like, this is so good.
Yeah, I liked it. Thank you guys for sitting through that.
And sorry about that.